Welcome to the Rich in Success podcast, the podcast that aims to define exactly what success means to you and gives you the tools to achieve this in your daily life. Hosted by action-taking mindset coach, world record holder, and successful entrepreneur Matt Hall. Each week, this show brings you motivation, education, and inspiration on how you can live a happier, more fulfilled, and more successful life. Are you ready to take your life to the next level? If so, this is the podcast for you. Now, let today's lessons begin.
Okay, well, welcome back. You're joining me now with the main man, Mr. Adam Collard. We're just going to dive straight in, but first and foremost, I just want to say, Adam, massive thank you, mate, for being here. How are you? Is all good?
I'm all good. I'm all good over this way. I'm glad to be on the podcast. Thanks for having us.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because the thing that I find with so many people, when we talk about success, obviously this show is rich in success, and I find a lot of people fear judgment, and they fear what people are going to think about them, what people are going to say about them. And obviously, you've been out there on Love Island, like, I would say at its heyday as well, like big viewers. And a lot of people will look at you and look up to you and think Adam's like really, really confident. You know, he's just one of those guys. But I'm interested in the truth in how you deal with not just fear of judgment, but on like a massive scale, on Instagram daily, on a TV show where people are scrutinizing everything you do, everything you say. How do you deal with it?
I suppose the main thing is just being rational with every situation. Like, it's always an analogy, but I go back to like school, and I think like you've got I had 35 people in a class. Like, you know who your friends are, you know who your friends aren't, and then you know the people who you speak to if you sit next to them, but you don't really like. They're not your best friends, but you'd still be nice to them and polite. And you'd be polite to everyone, but what I mean is you would still work together. You would still do something like that. Life's a little bit like that, in the sense of like, especially when you put yourself out there. I mean, you're putting yourself out there with this podcast. It's going to be the same. Like, you probably have blokes that listen to your podcast, or girls, and their partners don't like it, but they do. Do you know what I mean? It's just black and white like that. So I think when I went on the show specifically, and I did have a little bit of a game plan of like what I wanted to get out of the show in terms of coming off the back, and I had all of my online fitness business planned already in the back of my head and like ready to go. So I thought, like, it's almost like, even if people don't like you, you're going to get a positive outcome out of it, because they're at least going to see you for not liking you. I mean, you'd be like, oh, I hate this kid, or I really dislike the way this guy goes on, but I'm still going to see his stuff. You know what I mean? So I always used to think of it like that, and think no matter how bad it is on the outside, because when you're in the villa as well, like if we're speaking about Love Island anyway, you have no clue what's going on and what's being said. And obviously you don't know how you're being portrayed, because I guarantee if I walked around for camera and walked around with you all day, but you didn't know I was there holding a little vlog camera, I would make you, if I wanted to, I could cut it down to 5 minutes in that 24 hours, and I could make you look like a saint, make you look like Gandhi, make you look like a really clever person, make you look really stupid, make you look like the most, you would slip up at one point, in just one split second, and look.
Because as a human being, like on a daily basis, we go through every kind of emotion, every kind of character trait, don't we? So you're right, this is the thing people don't necessarily think about telly, is they can create whatever character they want to a certain degree.
Yeah, and like, you know, if you're quite switched on when you're in there, you know the sort of way you're going to be portrayed. Like, you get the vibe once you're in there for a few days. And like, I mean, I didn't even need a few days. I knew within the first few hours, I was like, all right, I am that guy. I'm the odd one out. So that means that I've got to go and do something, or I'm gone. You know, like, it's quite clear when you're in there. And like I said, I always used to just think to myself, like, think about it like the classroom at school, like the gym in my local area. I know some people don't like to train the way I do, but I like to train the way I do, and people love it. So it's 50-50.
Do you think it just comes down to then like being really clear on who you are, what your vision is, what your intention is, like what you're working towards, and just then thinking about the fact that, look, you cannot please everyone. Like, that's a goal that doesn't exist. So let's just forget that, and let's just stay true to exactly who I am, period.
Yeah, I would say those exact words that you've just said are absolutely true. But again, at the same time, don't beat yourself up if you do go that way, because I know I did it. When I came out of Love Island and I was with Zara, I went down the like, I've got to be TV perfect. I've got to be goody two shoes. I've got to put stuff on that's like lovey dovey. And like, I started like going away from fitness, and then it was almost like every time I came home back to, because I was living in Essex in London, which is not where I'm from. Every time I came home, it was like I got a bit of a shake, and I was like, "You're a qualified like professional and an athlete. Like, what are you doing? Like, so are you like prancing around? Like, and I get it. Like a prime example, I'm sure you've got everyone on social media right now. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry's in Dubai, which is great. Which is great. And obviously, I've done that, and I've done a lot of that. But like, I would go there and pre-Love Island and pre being on social media, I'd be like just as buzzing for the gyms as I would be as the party places. And I think you sort of, like, I know when I came out, and it does mess with your head when there's a lot of people watching you, you do start going down that stereotype of being a little bit of a party boy and being a little bit of this. And then it was like the penny drop when I came home one time and I was like, what are you doing? Like, you've completely left and forgot where or what you want to be. And I got a bit of a reality check. And then now I'm finding myself where I don't please as many people. I guarantee that, like, if you looked at the likes that I get on photos and stuff like that, that they're nowhere near as good as the saucy stuff or the ones with like the girl that I was seeing randomly who's got a blue tick at the time. But I care more about the people that do like the photos, if that makes sense. And the people that comment in the DMs that I get, or my business has went up, my social media has went down, sort of.
Do you know, that's like the best line ever, because everybody plays, or not everybody, but this is just so refreshing to hear you say that, like somebody where people would look up to you like, oh, he's doing fucking brilliant. But you're not playing the popularity game. You're not playing the game of, I just want to be liked, because there's so many fitness influencers, coaches, people with these massive followings that don't make fuck all money. But they put all these nice pictures up, like you say, with the abs, with the fit girl, and everyone's like, oh, like. It's like, yeah, but that person's not actually impacting your life for a positive outcome. And I think when you get really clear on who you actually are, away from all the gloss and the bullshit and all the niceties of Instagram, and be like, actually, this is what I stand for, and this is my service, and this is what I'm about, that's where you get the proper following. Might not be as big, but that's where you can have a proper impact on people's lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we look, funnily enough, it's funny that we're speaking about this now because last week we had a meeting, and I think it's like the online academy that I have is up 57% compared to the last year. But I've lost almost 150,000 followers on Instagram, which is what people live off. Influencers live off less than that, live off 100,000. But for me, obviously, you've got to take into account that probably 100,000 then people are girls or boys that are just really massive Love Island fans, don't care about anything to do with fitness. And now, like, me coming on 20 stories a day, and like, they could learn something from it, but they're not bothered. And I'm perfectly happy with that, and I'm perfectly okay. If they want to see us, they'll search us one day and be like, oh, what's that kid up to? And then just delete us again. Like, that's fine. But it speaks wonders, it speaks volumes. Like, and now I'm happier. I got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm stressing because if I drop below 1 million followers, I'm not as successful, where it's just not the case.
Such a great point. And I want to say to anybody listening that is like building a business, building a platform online, like, that's a massive lesson to learn, because people will look at you, Adam, and be like, you know, if only I had 1 million followers, like, then I'd be good. And it's like, no, like, give more value to whatever followers you've got now, impact them more. I think it's about going deeper with your audience you've got, rather than trying to go wide and get that million, you know? And I think people should take confidence in that. Whatever you've got now, we've all got to start with what we've got. Give value. Stop playing the scoreboard watching, oh, they've got an extra 1,000, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not the game to play. And I just want to say, with you as well, with Love Island, like, was it everything you expected? What were, you know, because I think my interpretation from the outside looking in is those kind of shows, like, there's a lot that's scripted, there's a lot that's planned, and then at the same time, the people in the middle of this script, they don't know how it's actually being portrayed, like you said, on the outside, if that's actually the right script. What was your kind of impression?
So this is me trying to not come across really cocky in this situation, but I just got it from the second I had an interview. I knew exactly what was coming, and it was everything I expected, really. But some people are so oblivious. Like, I use this example all the time. I've used it in, like, God knows how many podcasts. Like, Dr. Alex fully believed that he was going on and he was going to fall in love and live happily ever after. Like, genuinely,
I love him.
he did, right? And then there was a couple of people who, like, another couple of people where they sort of got it but didn't really get it. And then there was, like, Sam Bird's, like, one of my best friends off the show, and me and him just sort of got it. Like,
Yeah.
he came in the villa all guns blazing. He probably, because he came in 4 weeks after me, he's obviously reading the newspapers. He's, like, hearing all the things about, like, Adam's this, Adam's that, blah blah blah. How are you going to make a name for yourself and make sure you stay in? He came in, the first thing he said was try and make a remark about me. It got, like, massive press when we came outside, because me and him were, like, best friends. We laugh about it all the time now. And then, well, I remember walking into the bedroom of the villa, and me and him, like, doing the classic male, like, nod at each other, sort of sussing each other out after that. And he was like, oh, are we all right? After he'd obviously called us out in front of everyone. I was like, mate, I sound like whatever. Like, because we knew what we had to do. And it's not scripted, and we don't actually know. Like, I can't tell you what happens behind closed doors, but I know that for definite, if there's 20 of us, there's at least 120 of them on the outside of that villa. Like, they're clever. They know what type of girls you like, what type of girls you think you might like, and then find something out about them. And the girls that you don't like, they know everything. They've got psychologists. They're unbelievable at what they do. But what I personally think that they do is, you go in, they're watching you all, like, you know, if you're giving someone the eyes, like, you've been at the bar with one of your mates, and you can see one of your mates, like, staring at some bird, but he's not plucked up the courage to go and see her. He's not plucked up the courage to go and ask her out. And you start having the, like, lads crack where you're like, just fucking go and speak to her. Just go and speak to her. You know how it is. So, like, that's sort of what they do without realizing, because coincidentally, you go over to the fire pit. Who walks over, puts you on the spot? That girl who's there. So it's not scripted, it's not anything like that, but it's like that classic, like, I remember when I was a kid, and this is, like, going back to me being 15, 16, you used to see Made in Chelsea, right? You're telling me London Tower Bridge, those two people in the full of London walk past at exactly the same time. So they don't script anything. They let the situations play out. They don't tell you to say anything, but what they do is you bump into the person coincidentally, like, all the time. Like, if you're arguing with someone, you can guarantee that, like, the order of the beds, they're not far away from you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more the scenarios. I get it. And there was obviously times in there where you were fully portrayed as the bad boy. Like, I always remember the moment with Rosie where, like, it was that moment in TV where she just caught, like, classic TV, just got everybody together and just, like, stared you out like, right, are we going to chat? And you was like, what about? Like, in that moment, are you still, like, thinking this is fine, this is all part of the show? Or is the moments where you go, fuck, like, the world's going to hate me for a few days at least?
I think that was more the fact of, like, other people in the house, like, stirring it a little bit, which is what happens outside. Like, this happens where I'm from. Do you know what I mean? It happens everywhere. Probably didn't keep my cool as much as what I would have liked in that. Like, I wasn't completely cool in that situation, but at the same time, you don't really, like, you're on a dating show. Like, I always used to say this, like, you're going all over, you're going through your normal week, and you meet a girl on a Tuesday and you meet a girl on a Thursday, and you've already asked the one out on Tuesday, but it turns out that you're like, oh my God, this could be the one on Thursday. And, like, who are you going to go out on Saturday with? Even if you're going to annoy, like, I literally knew the girl for 48 hours. But it's crazy, isn't it? Because everything has to be like a fairy tale in quite a lot of people's, I'm going to say girl world, but that's probably not quite true, because some boys as well, like, everything's like a fairy tale. Everything has to be by the book, right? I was just going in there being like, it's been a day. What are you doing? It's just the way I've been brought up, you know? I think that's why I probably got cast for Love Island as well, because I was so forward with stuff like that. And, like, when people used to be like, I think Wes was like, oh, I'm going to really upset Laura. I'm going to, like, she was like, we've obviously done whatever together, and were really tight, and then Megan comes in. I'm like, mate, it's 2 weeks. Like, think about if you were working 5 days a week for 2 weeks and you were back home. Yes, it feels longer in the villa because you're doing nothing. It's like lockdown. It's like lockdown what we're in now. It's probably the most relatable now, like the daily drag. But I think that's what they put me in for, because they used to see this kid like not care, because I used to be like, it's been a day. You can't kick off with us. So that was it.
But the audience gets so into it for them, like it's so intense, isn't it? And I think you lose the perspective of that. And it's like, the bastard, how could he say that? And it's like,
yeah,
of course.
And it's like one of them things as well. Like, the producers are class, and like they've set me up with loads of great opportunities, so I don't blame them for this. But that smiling argument with Rosie, the most famous, I think it literally is, if you Google or YouTube the worst argument on Love Island, it is that one. You know the one I'm on about, where I'm sitting here like this, smiling at the camera. It was an hour long. It looks 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
And by the end, I'm literally smiling, because I'm like, what am I supposed to say that's going to make you feel okay? You're saying over and over again, but obviously
that's the thing though, isn't it? Like, we've all been there at that moment where we've said the same thing 100 times. It's like, what do you want? Are we going to move forward? But then they cut it down to 1 minute and then just show that bit, and it's like, you don't care.
Yeah. So it was funny. Like, the people that know us back home and like my friends were probably like laughing so much, because they know what I would be like.
Yeah.
And just be like, what am I supposed to say in this situation? I've probably done worse things at home. Like, I'll be brutally honest, but you grow up and you get better in those situations every time.
Yeah. Now, going back to when you was younger, I think a lot of people were surprised and will be surprised to find out, like, you weren't always this massive fitness guy. Like, you was actually pretty chubby at one point, weren't you, when you was like at school?
Yeah, I remember, like, I think the quote or whatever it was, I think I was like 16ish, 15 and a half, 16 stone at the same time as being like 14, 15 as when I was 21 on the show. But I'm talking 14, 15, I'm talking 15, 16 stone, looked very differently. It was like fat kid to like a very lean, athletic sort of look on there. So that was what got posted everywhere. But yeah, like, I don't mind saying it, the main starter and the main driver for a lot of people, and especially me, was like, and I don't like want a sob story saying this, by the way, if you're in school and you're the specky kid, you're the specky kid. If you're in school and you wear you're the ginger girl, you're the ginger girl. If you're the fat kid, you get the fat kid. Okay,
we all have that thing.
Yeah, you all have that thing. Like, I don't care what it is. So mine was, obviously, I was a bit overweight as a kid. I was always big as well, though, and I think that was one of the problems that made us stand out more, because I was tall. I'm like 6'5", 6'6", and I still was tall in school. So everyone thought, what can we get this kid with? Call him fat. So that was what it was. And I think, like, sort of 15 years old hit that sort of like first year of high school, second year of high school, and it was just like a switch in my head, and I just started training, and I just wasn't bothered about like summer holidays. Was it like for a full year, just to use every single thing to like go to the school gym in the rugby club gym that was next to it, and the change was massive. And then after that, just once I started seeing the weight loss and you start seeing the changes, that's when the addiction a little bit comes.
Yeah, I was going to say addictive, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and the next thing I know, I'm like, then I'm the person that asks for help. And then the next thing I know, like, I'm in sixth form, I'm doing art, maths, physics, and it has nothing to do with what I do. And then the next thing you know, you're a coach. So it just sort of, it was one of them things where, like, I wanted to change the way I looked. I wanted to be more confident. I remember not getting onto the football team, the A team in school, and like having a mad like thing in my head being like, I'm going to make sure I do that, because it was purely fitness. It wasn't skill. And then all of those things counteracted, and then that's how it sort of drove us to being in shape.
Do you think that like mindset, that determination of overcoming something is like a pretty necessary thing to actually achieve success? In other words, like you desperately wanted to change the way you looked, and that's why now you've got that, what I call like a transferable skill. Like you can now apply that to your business and to having a bigger impact, do you know? Because it's like stems from that real determination.
Yeah, I think you always, there's positive reinforcement and there's negative reinforcement, and people react, especially as a coach. Like, we see people all the time. You know, the ones who, like, you have the young lads, you can have a little bit of, like, you can push it a little bit closer to the bone and give them a little bit of trash talk to get them going. You've got maybe like lads that are like that person that I was younger, who majority of the time I would say positive reinforcement, like giving them, like, you know, saying like, oh, well done and stuff like that, and praising them, that helps them. But like with me, it was always like just that one thing, that driver, like saying, oh, you'll never be like that, you'll never do that. That's what clicks in my head. So I think every person sort of is motivated differently. And I think as well, people always ask, and this is a question that I get on my Instagram stories quite a lot, is what's like the motivation for training? And I would say at the start, and it was extrinsic. It was like to get girls and to look better. It was like 16 years old, to look good on my first ever lads holiday when we got to like Zante, and just crappy little stuff like that.
The standard thing though, isn't it? That's the same for most people.
But there's nothing wrong with that. But what you find is, like, now it's nowhere near like, yes, I take some selfies and stuff like that, but it's intrinsic. There's like, I know what I want to run a 5K, and I know what I want to bench, I know what I want to deadlift and stuff like that. So it's funny how it changes. But I would say, as long as you can get started in any way, like putting one foot in front of the other is the best way.
What do you think with the clients you work with? Presumably a lot come to you for more fat loss. What do you find is the main mistake people make? Because I find fat loss is the biggest thing you see people yo-yo. It's like, for you, you've come from the background, not just somebody that's always been lean, talking about it. You've lost the weight and you've sustained it for years and years and years. So many people, they lose a bit, they put a bit more on, they lose it, and that's their life. Yeah. Why do you think that is, and what would be your main advice for them?
So the main problem that I see with people is they go so hot out of the gates. There's a funny quote somewhere, and there's a meme, I'll try and find it, but like, it's, you know, the Joker, everyone loses their mind. And it's a bit of a piss take in the fitness world, but it's like, tell someone to train 5 times a day, to eat nothing but lettuce, and they'll say okay. But tell someone to just gradually walk a little bit more, come to the gym 3 times a week, and eat 1 more chicken breast and 1 less bag of crisps a week, and everyone loses their minds. Like, it is as simple as that. We are creatures of absolute, like, as humans. And yes, you might be able to do that for 1 week, for 2 weeks. You might push it to 4 weeks. And we're in a perfect situation right now. We're in January, and normally we see more clients in January in the full year. And because we're creatures of absolute, you tell someone to do no carbs, which is stupid, and like, you tell them to come in twice a day, they can do it because they feel like there shouldn't be a relationship with torturing yourself to fitness. If people just, and this is the main thing that quite a lot of good PTs start with, is like, add 2,000 steps a day onto your intake, and stop drinking any sugary drinks. You can have sugar-free, you can have Diet Coke, but just stop sugary drinks. If you're used to having that, straight away they lose the first stone. And you've still got more tools in your arsenal. You're like a builder. You've got another tool to play with. Right, the next thing, right? You're gonna like add more protein, and you're gonna take away a little bit more fat. There's your next tool that you've used. Right now, because you've got 10,000 steps a day on your belt, now we're going to use training as a tool, and you're going to come into the gym 2 or 3 times a week. And it's like this thing, it's a little bit of like, as you make a little bit of progress, it stalls, you play your next card. It's like playing a game of cards. And this is what I always try to say to people, because the biggest mistake that I see is people get disheartened when they're injured because they've trained 10 times in the first week. They're absolutely starving because they're eating nothing apart from water, because it's the majority of lettuce anyway. And then they get disheartened and think, oh, well, I tried the gym that year, and I've tried it for the last 5 years in January. You've not really tried it with any either smart coaching, a proper plan, or scientific evidence. You've just done the absolute. And it comes from like seeing things on TV and seeing things on films, and to be quite honest, bad influences.
Yeah, You're right. And it's that quick win mentality, isn't it? Like, everybody wants everything overnight. They want the money, they want the girls, they want the body. And it's like, it's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It's consistency is key. Like, small incremental changes over time add up. But the mentality is, well, I'm working hard, I want it all now. And I think you just put that brilliantly. Like, I think anybody listening right now that's lived that life, like we're talking to you, stop putting all the pressure on your shoulders to do it all this month.
Yeah.
Like, it is that thing of fall in love with the process. Just enjoy making those small changes over time, and don't make it your whole life. People make it the whole life for like a week, and then that's it. They just fall out with the idea, don't they? Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, like I've had people put in holidays from work to like start and stuff like that, and it's just yeah. Like, people put in holidays for the first week because they're going to smash it, and as soon as they go back to work, they obviously don't know how to manage the day, manage the time. Where it's like that, but it's like you say that it's not as I enjoy training, and this is no word of a lie. It's about even. I enjoy training a lot now, but I enjoyed it just as much being the fatter kid on the way up. Like, the process was what was better, because I've never been as addicted since then. Like that, until I get, now it takes me to have like a big photo shoot, or it takes me like a big, I don't know, like something like an external stimulus for me to like really think about like putting in the work. Whereas that time I've never been as laser focused since.
Yeah, because now you need that specific goal, that one-off thing. And that's something actually I want to touch upon, because we spoke about influencers and giving the wrong impression and things like that. And will you just talk a little bit about when you just said there, I need that specific goal, like a photo shoot? People see those photo shoots and they're like, I want to look like that. And I think the misunderstanding a lot of people have is you actually only look like that for a few days or even hours. Like, can you just talk about what goes into a photo shoot and the reality of it?
Yeah, so, well, the first thing to touch on, goals are really important. And I probably used I didn't use the wrong example. I used one example of many. I always say to people when they come on board, set yourself a selfish goal, like a photo shoot. Set yourself a training goal. So I want to lift a 200 kilo deadlift in 2 months. I want to run a 5K in under 30 minutes. And then set yourself a nutrition goal. I want to be able to be on these macros and have tracked for 21 days perfectly, not slipped up in 21 days. So that's what I say first of all. Now, going on to the photo shoot, and the reason there's a problem with this is, say that's a 16-week process, right? 12 weeks is healthy, maybe like going on to 14 weeks. The last 2 weeks are not healthy, right? It gets to the point where like you get lean and your fitness is improving, and then it starts getting up the hill, and then it starts coming down. And what I mean by that is you are essentially tactically starving yourself for ever so slightly, tactically starving yourself. Now think about what that says. Like, you look at the videos and you look at the TV adverts of UNICEF and stuff like that, they're starving. You're tactically starving yourself, and just how long can you hang on for? That's exactly the game. Every 24 hours is a game of how long can you hold on for and be in that sort of dieting phase. Like, probably like out of that 16-week prep or whatever you want to call it, like 14 weeks are good. Then last 2 weeks, it starts coming down. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing really slow training in the gym, which is nowhere near, like, my strength is down, my energy levels are down.
Your mindset's down, isn't it? It makes you feel miserable.
Yeah, I'm walking 20,000 steps a day because I don't have the energy to run, or I don't have the energy to go on the row machine and do intervals anymore, even though that's what got us there in the first place. And then you've got the last little bit. What we do essentially is like you water load and then water deplete, which is essentially drinking like up to 10 liters of water for like 4 days. And then for almost 48 hours having sips of like, I think 2 liters across, not even 2 liters across 2 days. So if you think about it, basically how it works is you load the body with so much water that you're constantly expelling it, whether that be sweat, whether that be obviously when you go to the toilet. And then obviously that process still stays because you've tricked your body for that 48 window when you've stopped drinking water. So you actually lose all of the water and tenfold. And then on top of that, before you go to a photo shoot the night before, you smash 2 glasses of red wine, 2 glasses of white wine. You then have Haribo Tang Fast. So that makes you even more dehydrated, which you'll know gives you a banging headache and a hangover, even though it's only 2 glasses. Then you start having salt and vinegar Pringles on shoot, and you have Haribo Tang Fastics because salt makes your veins go out, sugar makes you feel pumped, and then you get photos and you'll stay there for about 48 hours. And then as soon as you drink water, you go so bloated because your body's in so much shock that you look terrible. And then about in 2 weeks' time, you go back to normal and still look much better than you ever did.
There you go. Like, boom. Like, so stop fucking looking at these pictures as being, because it's not sustainable. That's the key. You cannot look like that all year.
Yeah, like it is for a set goal, and it's obviously what certain brands pay me to do and have paid me to do. But I would say out of that 16-week process, I'm happiest like in the last like the 4 weeks away point. That's like perfect, and that's like my favorite look, and that's my favorite livable conditioning. And then that little last 4 weeks, it just takes it too far. There's no need. Like, you can literally move the veins on my arm at some points. Like, why would you want to do that? And then you probably book in about 4 photo shoots at the same time, and then I've got them forever.
Absolutely brilliant. So obviously a lot of this show is about like living the best life you can, being the best version of yourself and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested, have you got any kind of daily rituals, like a certain schedule that you stick to, any non-negotiables, things like that with the way that you live, to live kind of more optimally?
So this, up until this last year, no, but it's something that I've really looked into. And non-negotiables, I only heard about the term, even though I understood what they were, from about 2 months ago. So I've got this app called GoWOD. I've got my torch on. It's like Netflix for fitness, Netflix for mobility. Sorry, not fitness. So you pay $6.99 and it gives you like a mobility, a bit like, imagine yoga but less zen, and you don't have to wear like crazy trousers.
But you can though, right? You can.
Yeah. So I try to basically find the time to get myself, no matter what time it is, get myself up early enough where there's a 22-minute window to finish off one of them. You know the feeling, like it releases so many endorphins, but like not quite the same as training. I just feel loose. It like makes my back and my legs like have less DOMs. I feel better off it. After that, depending on what the schedule is, if I'm in work physically or if I'm working from home, try and get some steps in, try and clear the head, try and avoid looking at my phone for a little bit as much as possible before I go full tilt into like, you know, I think the phone, it's one of them things these days where I think you've got to find time to like remove yourself from it, because I was getting to the point where I was constantly on the phone. I was constantly doing emails. I was constantly doing this. You can't switch off. And what happened was I was getting to the point where I wasn't getting to sleep till 2 a.m. So another part of the thing that I've started doing is trying to do no phones for like maybe 90 minutes at least before I go to bed, and then like no TV screens for like an hour, and just stuff like that is like started to try and get them into my routine. I'm by no means good at it yet. Like some days I'm really good, some days I'm terrible at it. But that's just being self-employed, and that's just life. So I would say the main things are just mobilization for my physical health, because I can train and train and train. It doesn't bother us because I don't have to think about that. But taking the time to do the basics is really important. And then the other thing is blue lights. And I've even looked into getting some of them glasses.
Yeah, well, because then obviously if you are on a screen, at least you've got that, which isn't as bad. Because that, I think for a lot of self-employed people trying to build a brand, build a business, you know, you're right. It's your best tool is that phone. But then it's finding that bit where you're spilling over, and actually you can't be your best self if you're just constantly fucking exhausted and consuming and creating. And the phrase that I always say is, you know, use the internet, don't let it use you. You need to have that self-awareness when it's spilling over and you're actually getting consumed by posts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one of my main vices is honestly like being anxious if I've got messages there that aren't read, and I'm trying to get that out of my system, and I still am, and it's still a process, but I'm sure you'll be the same. Like when you're thinking about trying to run a gym and trying to run an online business and try it, like my Instagram is a separate business of like personal stuff with Boohoo and stuff like that. So trying to switch off. This is what I struggle with. So that's why I've started doing them non-negotiables.
Yeah, good that you learnt 2 months ago. Well, brilliant. That's great stuff. What's your sort of plan moving forward? Do you have a plan? Have you got a specific vision for your business, for your training? Where is it all going?
So we're ever evolving the online system of the online fitness business. So there's an app there now, which is probably better than ever. It's massively, massively improved since these lockdowns. I mean, taking a positive out of this situation, it's definitely gave us a lot of time to tidy up the areas that I didn't maybe want to, tidy up the areas that I was potentially being lazy with. Like, I'm not a massive fan of home training, but I definitely know how to. So why have I not used that knowledge before? So we've put in loads of effort in that side of the business. From the gym business in Newcastle, which I try to keep separate and try and plan them as 2 separate projects. We're trying to open number 2. And before these lockdowns, so obviously one business is doing better, the other business probably isn't suffering, but it's not moving forward, which is annoying. So it would be to get number 2. And I would say before the first lockdown, we were actually actively looking at sites, whether that be in a completely different area or whether it be in the same sort of area, but a bigger site. So that is the game plan with that. And then apart from that, just trying to put one foot in front of the other and just constantly keep better.
Yeah, I love it. Adam, it's been a bloody pleasure. Honestly, I could chat to you all day, and I just love that a lot of what you're saying is very aligned with what we talk about every week on the show. So it's about reinforcing those messages, reminding people, consistency is key. I think that's one of the biggest. I don't care what your goals are, whether it is health and fitness, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your business, whatever. Consistency is everything, and it's that, like you say, one foot in front of another daily that adds up over time. Just before we finish, I just want to jump into the quick fire section, okay? So these are just either or options. You just give us yours. If you want to elaborate a little bit on why, you can. But yeah, here we go. So, question number 1. 2 coffees a day or 0 caffeine in your diet?
2 coffees a day.
Is it more like 5 or 6, or are you quite strict with caffeine?
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. The only thing I'm getting better at is none after 4.
Yeah, getting that caffeine curfew done. Yeah. Next question, weights or cardio?
Weights, 100%.
City life or country life?
Oh, well, I've got the best of both worlds. Probably country life,
Yeah?
Probably country life, the chill, the zen. That's the end goal. City life when you're young, country life when you're older.
I've got to agree with you on that. Next one, meditation or reading?
Meditation. A little bit of visualization in bed.
Next one, 4 hours sleep or 10 hours sleep? No in between, you got to pick.
10 hours sleep, 100%.
Yeah, sleep's important, right?
Yeah.
Do you manage to get like a good amount?
I used to be really bad. Like, I could honestly run off 4 hours a night for like a week, and then I would have one day where I would do like 16 hours. It was really bad. But now that I'm more established, I'm getting there. 8 hours.
Beauty. Next one, build a brighter future or become more at peace with your past?
Build a brighter future.
And the final one, being broke but in love or wealthy and alone?
Oh! I suppose
we got him.
Being broke and in love. As long as I'm in love with someone and a dog, we'll go with the broke and in love.
And as long as she's got money, and then we get it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, honestly, what an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your honesty, and thank you for sharing some valuable insight as well. Just before you go, if people want to catch up with you, if they want to know more about your fitness, where can people find you online? What's the best places for them to head to?
Right, so I will be pretending to be funny, but failing, and trying to do some fitness on @AdamCollard on Instagram. And if you want to check something out more advanced, if you are really into the fitness, you can go @sculpt_, which is the gym and the online business. And then apart from that, AdamCollardFitness.com, you will have all of your plans if you want to jump on board with us. But thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Really good chat.
Beauty. Thanks, Adam. Final question before you go. What is your definition of success?
Luckily, I got this one a couple of weeks ago. So as long as every day, every month, every year, I'm trying to get better, whether or not it's happening, but at least if I'm trying, I should still be getting more successful.
You're intentional. I absolutely love that. I'm not happy that other podcasts are asking the same questions. Who are they? You need to get rid of them.
Wasn't as big as you, don't worry.
Happy days, and we're all good. Adam, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care, man.
Cheers, mate.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found this a fantastic, valuable episode. Don't forget, make sure you do subscribe to this podcast for more of the same every single week. Make sure that you download, that you subscribe, you rate, you review. Also, share this episode with somebody that you think is going to take value from listening. You know, stick it on your Instagram story, tag me in it. We can have a reshare and help me help others on a wider impact. You know, I want to be able to put this out there every single week to be able to genuinely make a change in people's lives, to change their perspectives on what's possible and how to help them live a happier, healthier, more fulfilled and more successful life. So, you know, that's going to be a lot harder to do it if I've got to do it alone. So I would appreciate any support if you would be willing to share this episode. You know, drop it in somebody's inbox, stick it on your Facebook, whatever that you'd be willing to do would be massively, massively appreciated. And don't forget, tomorrow I'm back with some more coaching advice, some more free coaching tips and all that good stuff. And in actual fact, tomorrow's episode is taken from a live video that I did. It is entitled A Live Rant: The Importance of Distancing Yourself from All the Nonsense. Really, really valuable episode, a really valuable listen to check out that will be available tomorrow if you're listening to this on the day it was released. And then next week on Wednesday, I am joined by female entrepreneur and elite business coach, Hither Mann. What an episode this is. I really, really, really can't wait for a lot of people to listen to it. In particular on this one, females, because there's an awful lot of female clients that I've worked with that have huge limiting beliefs about their ability to make serious wealth. Now, Hither is a woman that's gone out and done that off her own back. You know, she came from nothing, as it were, and she is now currently worth over £200 million. And she now coaches other people on how they can become wealthy too. This was a fantastic chat. Hither, like, literally tells it how it is. She does not hold back. She's exactly my kind of person, you know, really, really honest. And I just think it's a fantastic conversation. So do not miss next Wednesday's episode, all about making more money. You know, we're also still talking about mindset, overcoming fear of judgment, being a more confident person, and achieving great success in all areas of your life. So that's going to be super valuable. Make sure that you don't forget to check out tomorrow's episode and then be back with us next Wednesday as I sit down and have a fantastic chat with the one and only Miss Hither Mann. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this valuable. And remember, as the episode suggests, keep moving forward, keep taking massive action on your goals, your dreams, what you want out of life. And I will see you tomorrow as the journey of self-discovery and personal development continues. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Rich in Success episode. If this episode has impacted you, there's a few things we need you to do in order to help us make a wider positive change. Please spread the word. Tell a friend that you think will benefit from our message. Subscribe to the show on your chosen podcast platform and give the show a 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to like our social media pages and tag us on your Instagram stories. Your support means the world. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time as the journey of personal growth and self-discovery continues.